Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. Welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks. I had a 3-day weekend, so I was out yesterday, and boy, I came back to a steamy day today and even woke up to some rain first thing this morning. First thing I want to do is talk about this little post that I made earlier and talked about it on 21 News at 6. The Farmer's Almanac getting all sorts of publicity this week. You know, everything goes viral these days, it seems, especially when it comes to weather. The evening news is always leading with weather. Weather's a big deal in a lot of media these days. And with a fresh edition of the Farmer's Almanac and the promise in the almanac of a cold and snowy winter for millions, it's gotten a lot of buzz this week. And, you know, here's kind of the bottom line in the Farmer's Almanac, if you haven't heard my rant about this yet. Farmer's Almanac is a great publication for some reasons. It's got all sorts of great historical information, fun facts and figures. They have some humor in there, some real interesting stuff, some astronomy, gardening, cooking, fishing advice, all that's great. But then there's the other side of the Farmer's Almanac, in which they not only put out a seasonal forecast for the winter as a whole, but they also, you know, bring you between February 21st and 25th, it'll be, you know, mild in Ohio and snowy in New York and, you know, things like that. That's the kind of stuff that is for entertainment purposes only. Don't put any stock into that. You know, a lot of people get very defensive when I criticize or other people criticize the Farmer's Almanac, but you know, just giving you the straight dope here that those forecasts are not based on any sort of sound science whatsoever. Any forecast for a season, 2 seasons in advance, is liable to be a little bit suspect. And what's especially suspect is the part where they try to give you a precipitation forecast for a specific couple of days 6 months from now. You know, just that stuff is baloney. We will put out our winter forecast in late October, just like we did last year, and that forecast is based on sound science. And certainly by late October, we'll have an idea as to how El Nino is going to influence the pattern heading forward. Very strong El Nino for this winter, and sometimes in really strong El Ninos, that spells a lack of snow and warm temperatures for us. But not always. Not every El Nino is the same, and some El Nino winters, even some stronger ones, have ended up being on the cold and somewhat snowy side for us. So we'll sort all that out as we head towards this fall. A little over a month ago, back on July 15th, I actually posted on my weather blog a little discussion here about El Nino and the possible effects on the upcoming winter. If you go to my blog, ericwfmj.com, and search winter or search El Nino, you'll be able to find this post. All right, moving on to today's weather. Of course, we started with rain this morning, even some thunder, and some places, especially in Mercer and Lawrence counties, had over an inch worth of rain, but that's long gone. It's a pleasant, albeit fairly warm evening out there. Here's our next weather maker out here to the west. Let me stop the loop and let the data load in here. Cold front is marching through the Midwest. Actually, this is more of a warm front that's bringing the rain and thunder to Wisconsin and Illinois right now. But anyway, that will eventually head our way, but it will come in a weakened form by Thursday morning. The severe weather threat here is much lower than it is off to the west. Temperatures this afternoon got into the lower 80s. Look at all the heat out in the middle of the country. The dew points, not fun. They're definitely elevated. We have dew points mostly in the mid-60s now, and if you think it's humid now, tomorrow I think dew points will hover in the upper 60s to around 70, even in the afternoon, which is typically the part of the day when the dew points tend to lower a little bit. It's going to be a pretty stifling day coming up for us tomorrow. What about rain tomorrow? Let's talk about those chances. I think the chances are overall pretty low. Here's go back here to mid-morning tomorrow. Weather map shows our strong low-pressure system up here in the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota. Here's our cold front, and you could probably analyze a warm front in through here. Not much going on around the warm front during the midday hours for tomorrow. As we get into the afternoon, the NAM model here, again, doesn't show a whole lot. We just don't have much of a good trigger, not quite enough instability tomorrow. But still, we've got a 30% chance in our forecast of a pop-up shower or storm tomorrow afternoon. I just wouldn't count on that. I think most of us will be in the miss category. Here's tomorrow evening. Probably a severe weather threat tomorrow in parts of the lower Ohio Valley and heading up into parts of Michigan, with perhaps a skinny squall line with perhaps some individual supercells trying to bust out in the middle of that squall line. So especially up in Michigan, that's something that they will have to watch out for tomorrow. Now, this front's going to come through at an unfavorable time for severe weather for us. That's, of course, good news. Let's take a look at Thursday morning. This is when our front will be kind of slicing through Ohio, probably right along I-71 around 8 a.m. And that's just not a great time of the day for the front to kick up strong storms. Still a pretty good chance of a shower and a thunderstorm here and there in the morning and midday hours on Thursday. And then I think we're going to clear out pretty quickly by Thursday afternoon. Here's 2 p.m., the back edge pushing through. And by 5 p.m., I think we're in the clear, and the drier air will start to filter in. We'll notice that dew point drop by later in the evening towards sunset on Thursday. And that'll set the stage for a much more comfortable night Thursday night. And then coming up on Friday, boy, what a great summer day this will be. Boy, good day to play hooky. Oh, don't give me any ideas. High pressure will be centered right over Ohio Friday. There'll be a few passing cumulus clouds. That'll be about it. Beautiful day. Low humidity. Dew points can be down in the upper 40s to around 50 on Friday. And I think the weekend is going to be dry as well. As far as the longer range trends, let's look upstairs a little bit at the upper levels here. Green colors on this map, cooler than average air mass, red and brown, a warmer than average air mass. As we go into next week, first of all, here's Saturday morning. Notice a little blue around us, but I think by afternoon we get back up to about average temperature-wise. And then Sunday is going to be a warm day. Sunday afternoon, this next cool air mass is descending into the plains, but we're on the warm side around here. We'll get well into the 80s on Sunday with a subtle increase in humidity as well. Our next cold front likely comes through on Monday, and notice that blue-green blob kind of settles over us for a couple of days, middle of next week. So another refreshing change. After a warm Sunday, we'll have a couple of days probably in the 70s for highs, 50s for lows, middle of next week. The longer range pattern still pointing towards a pretty warm pattern for us at the end of August. Here's Friday the 28th. Notice the cool weather is pretty much restricted to the northwest. From the Rockies east, this is a pretty warm looking pattern for us for the last few days of August, and that might take us right up to Labor Day. Still some complications with the longer range forecast because of a couple of typhoons that might impact Asia if those typhoons recurve. Recurving typhoons in the western Pacific can have implications down the road in the U.S. with the overall pattern changing. Might also be dealing in a week to 10 days with Danny, which is a tropical storm far out across the Atlantic, and that could change some of what you see here. But right now it points to a cool midweek period for the middle of next week, and then after that, pretty warm through the end of August. Well, I thank you as always for watching Weather for Weather Geeks. Hope you have a great Tuesday night. More Weather Geeks around 7:30 Wednesday evening, and I'll see you tonight on 21 News at 11.